In Taiwan Talk this week, until December of last year, Cynthia Wu, or Wu Xinying, was known as a business executive and member of the Legislative Yuan. But that all changed when she was named vice presidential candidate by the Taiwan People's Party. She tells us about her journey from at-large lawmaker to her shot at the second highest elected position in the land and what she had hoped to achieve along the way.
And I always find that my role is about building bridges, whether it's building bridges between the charities that we fund with the businesses that we own, or in Parliament, sharing these international best practices. I've been going to Davos in the World Economic Forum since 2011, so seeing a lot of these gaps and in terms of legislation and policy and where Taiwan could catch up, so then building sort of that bridge from policy perspective. So in my 15 months, we were just taking inventory. In my 15 months here as legislator, I drafted 19 bills for my office. Some of them are full acts, like the Digital Signatures Act, the Digital Health Act, the AI Act, and the Sovereign Wealth Fund initiative that I've put forward. A lot of these things are gaps, like I said, that I see where Taiwan could accelerate change. And that's also why I decided to join the Taiwan People's Party, because 4 years ago it was actually an open application process. And to me, I didn't have to be part of a political legacy. I didn't have to have an apprenticeship to be a manager in the legislator's office. It was literally like a college application, And so I filled in my details. I figured there's probably very few people who have English as good as mine, worked and has a life insurance qualification in Taiwan, has also worked in the London financial industry, and let's just see what happens. And so I was part of this legislator at large list, or this roster, as you will, and because there were only 5 seats that we obtained through this proportional representation, I was basically on a wait list, which didn't matter to me because the party literally only started 3 months before I joined them, and then the campaign and the election was actually less than 6 months upon the inception of the party. So it was really kind of investing early, if you will, be part of this new political climate seeking change beyond just the traditional 2-party system we have in Taiwan. And then when I stepped in last November, it was November 2022, I was 7 months pregnant, and I was mountain climbing in eastern Turkey, and I got these messages on my phone once I got to a place with better reception, and I had to come back quickly. I had 3 weeks to swear in, and then a year and 2 weeks into my legislative role, I was asked to become vice presidential candidate for Dr. Wen-je.
How did you feel about that? How did you feel about that?
Well, it's very exhilarating. It was very sudden. I found out on the day of the registration, and everyone was hoping that Kuomintang and our party would join forces, but sadly we did not. And I accepted it as a call of duty, and I did the best that I could to help him. And I think, realistically speaking, we are a startup. We've only been around for 4 years as the Taiwan People's Party. And so to get nearly 27% support, 26.5% to be exact, is fantastic. So we've doubled our popular support in 4 years. So 4 years ago, we got 11% support, which translated into 5 seats. Now we got 22% support, which translated into 8 seats.
What are you going to miss the most about being in Yuan? That's like a full plate. What are you going to miss the most about being here?
I've always thought my foray into politics was just another way to find other tools or other means to affect the change I want to see in Taiwan. So when I came to Parliament, I had the idea of financial reform for Taiwan, for example, in terms of a sovereign wealth fund, but also more specifically, perhaps to some of your audience, the Golden Visa and the ARC, it's not very friendly to foreigners in terms of getting them to onboard our financial system here for banking and other transactions. And, I think Taiwan's financial reform is long overdue. I also think that we need to digitalize our economy, digitalize our government, and have, not only, now, of course, during the election campaign, everyone's talking about AI, this is the future. But the reality is, I'm thinking, hey guys, we haven't even set rules for data on separating IT and OT, information technology and operating technology. We haven't even updated our Digital Signatures Act for 30 years. So I had funded my entire time here out of pocket. Apart from the government money that's given to my office researchers, I've actually donated my legislator role salary or my legislator salary in full and some more and some to fund for all the policies that I want to see change for Taiwan. And so I would say that I treasured the time here. I knew I only had 15 months, and I wanted to, at the time I said 一天当三天用, which means, because here as a legislator, it's a hard 4-year stop. It's a 4-year term. And so when I joined basically in year 4, I was trying to make up for 3 days. I was trying to say I'm using 1 day like 3 days because I came in late and I was a replacement candidate. And so when I became VP candidate, there were 50 days. So I said 一天当五天用. So I'll use 1 day like 5 days. So it was a real, acceleration of change and a lot of things happening. And it's been very exciting. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is that a lot of the issues that I've been interested in, environmental sustainability, financial sustainability, international connectivity, and digital transformation, like the bills I've mentioned earlier, and also the digital health initiative I've put forth in Parliament, all those are things that I've been seeing from the private sector and from all my international travels, attending all these global conferences of where Taiwan should go. And so I feel very fortunate to have this platform, if you will, to have this voice that was even further amplified, because many people may not know, but the highest elected office in Taiwan, apart from president, is legislators, and there are currently 113 legislators. And if there's a funeral or sort of an official gathering, if the president doesn't show up, which often the president will not, the legislators actually get roll called before the ministers, because in terms of pecking order, in Parliament, the ministers have to answer to legislators. And so, there are only 113 lawmakers, elected lawmakers of the land. And so that comes with huge responsibility and power and, a voice. But at the same time, now having this vice presidential campaign experience, it was even further amplified. So it was a great experience just to kind of talk about things that I care about, just with a bigger microphone. That's how I see it. And then now that I'm stepping off, I will continue to follow up with these issues, but from the private sector through the foundation, and then also through the legislators that our party have now put in Parliament, but also some of the other legislators from other political parties that I've become close to and learned to respect because they're also very knowledgeable in the areas that they work in. So it's just, for me, my foray into politics is like building a bigger toolbox.
You were listening to Cynthia Wu, former lawmaker and vice presidential candidate for the Taiwan People's Party. And that was this week's edition of Taiwan Talk. I'm Hope Go. Now, if parts of this episode caught your interest, you can catch this and past episodes of Taiwan Talk on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you download your podcasts. Thank you for tuning in.